All right, so we are live with our guest expert call for the month of, my goodness, May. I was going to say April. It's already May. And I am pleased to be here with our guest, Juliet. And she is going to be, Juliet Clark, and she is going to be talking to us about social media sales secrets. The 3 vital steps to turn your audience into clients. As we all know, social media is where it's at today. It's the way to connect with our fans, our future clients, and just to really build relationship. And so I'm really happy to have you here with us. And Juliet is the founder of Winsome Media Group. She's a dynamic and sought after speaker, and she spent the last 20 years helping authors all over the world build their expert platforms. So she knows quite a bit about platform building and, turning your funnel, creating funnels and turning that into sales on using social media. So welcome, Juliet.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. So I hope I won't be moving too fast today. I'm going to try to keep it slow. I think as the group is so small, if you guys have questions, just kind of chime in, and we'll answer questions as we go along, and I'll get started. So I'd love to hear. Can we ask people what they're doing as for their businesses? Would that be okay?
Sure. Yeah, and some people may type into the chat so we can check the chat as well if people can't talk. But if you can, you can unmute yourself and just share with Juliet what you do.
Okay. Health and wellness. Okay. Oh, Beachbody. Yes. You were mentioned sorry about that. I clicked the wrong thing. Amy, yeah. You were mentioned when I originally spoke to Justine.
Yeah, and Amy is great at engagement on social media. So she, for her, I feel like the opportunity is turning that engagement into sales. So this is perfect for her, this topic. And then Cherie and Jen, would you like to tell Juliet what you do?
Hi, this is Cherie. Hi, Juliet. I do social responsibility, social movement. So social media is a critical catalyst to lift it up. And I'm working on a project now called Waldorf 100, and it's a global movement. So anyhow, that's what I do.
Oh, fantastic. And let's see, somebody else was up here. Well, welcome. And Jen is health and wellness as well. Okay, very nice. So Life Advantage. So are both I know Beachbody is an MLM. Is Life Advantage as well? Yes. Okay, cool. All right. So actually this strategy, a lot of it will help MLM too. So, okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get going.
We also have a few of the women that may be showing up late are coaches. And so we have like a parenting coach, and we have a woman who does workshops for moms and daughters. And so, we have a variety of people in this group. We also have somebody who has a brick and mortar shop, clothing, lifestyle kind of shop.
Oh, wow.
And she creates community events as well. So.
Okay, great. You've got a nice diverse group here. That's fabulous. So which one of these describes you? It probably that you're already an entrepreneur and feeling a little frustrated because social media hasn't been profitable, or you're currently setting up to be an entrepreneur and really feeling concerned about how to use social media and make it profitable. This is really a sweet spot for people because of the fear factor around social media. Or you've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but you've hesitated because you're really, really afraid of social media. So those last two I run into a lot, especially with book people. Like, I want my book out there, but I don't want anybody to know who I am. It's kind of it's a real, catch-22, if you will. So here's what we're going to talk about today. How to turn likes into sales, 3 blunders that kill your social media communication, And then how to start a conversation that converts. And what I mean by converts is starting a conversation that builds a relationship that takes you to the sale. And that's really important because most people who purchase from us actually know us. And you'll find that as you're working through your sales funnels, people rarely just click and buy on the internet anymore. They've been burned. I mean, they do for physical products, but when it comes to intellectual coaching types products that don't have a reputation or people don't know you, they're going to want to get to know you first, to know that you are who you say you are, you have integrity, and you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver. So that converts into a relationship becomes very, very important. And then how to keep the conversation going all the way to the sale. It's easy to start a conversation sometimes, but if you're not actively building the relationship in a way that's non-salesy, it's not going to be effective. You can't just go in and say, okay, I've converted, we're friends on Facebook now, let me sell you something. Because I know all of you have had it happen and it feels super icky. So this is really selling without selling is what it is. I see, Justine, can you run the chat up here while I'm going through? Let me see. Number one, sorry. No, that doesn't sound bad. I was trying to ask you. That doesn't sound bad at all, Jen. All right. So a little about who I am. I spent 12 years in traditional publishing and advertising. I worked at Price Stern Sloan, Los Angeles, and then moved on to Chiat Advertising, where I worked on a couple big accounts. I've worked on the Nissan account, which is $1 billion advertising budget. Some of the other accounts we had there when I was there was the Energizer Bunny, TaylorMade, and Apple Computer. And then because I became a mom, I moved on to Mattel Toys because with Chiat I was traveling 3 weeks out of every month. And as you all probably know, the dad thing doesn't really work out at first. Babies really need mom. And my ex-husband was a sweetheart, but, well, not really a sweetheart. We'll just say he is for those purposes. But he was really failing on the baby front. So I moved over to Mattel Toys and another $1 billion account, worked on Barbie and Hot Wheels. And then in 2001, after my second child was born, I decided that I was going to stay home. And I was home with her for about 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, you're going to hate me, guys, but this sucks. It's such hard work. I want to go back to work. And so I started my own business with advertising. And I've been on the entrepreneurial path since 2001. Somebody had a question there. Let's see, who was that? Chat. Not sure what you were asking with the chat. Oh, okay, sorry. All right. So since in 2008, I decided to publish the first of my 9 books, and I got a real eye-opener about what the self-publishing world was like. I was part of traditional publishing. We had editorial, we planned the promo, we planned the advertising, and all of a sudden I thought I would have it rocked, but I was plunged into this world where the publisher, you paid to have it published, and then they took all sorts of your profit, and they were teaching authors all the wrong things. They were selling them marketing tools that served the publisher because they were making money, but they weren't really serving the author in any way to get them out there and known. So it was really kind of a learn by doing. I published my first book, and then I said, no, I know how to do this. There's a better way. And so after experiencing the dark side of publishing, I created Winsome Medium Group in 2010, and we've helped over, I think, this is an old slide, I think it's almost 800 entrepreneurs and authors to platform building success. So getting them out in the marketplace and teaching them how to get them known. My whole philosophy behind this is that I can sell you promo that'll serve you for a day, but if I can teach you how to do this yourself, this will serve you and your business for a lifetime in almost anything you do. So that's my goal, is to really be able to teach people how to do this effectively. I noticed that 1 or 2 of you took the quiz. If you haven't already, go over to socialmediabizquiz.com and take that quiz, and it'll kind of give you some idea where you are in the platform building, and especially for this purposes of this talk, the social media world, how well you're doing, where you need to have some improvement. If you did take the quiz, you might have discovered a few things. First of all, that you're probably not transitioning followers from social media into your list, which is really important. We're going to talk about that a little bit later and why it's so important. You may have also discovered that you're probably not creating valuable content for your tribe consistently. And this is really important because we're always taught to, go out and share other people's work and share articles and share their genius and follow the influencers. But at the end of the day, that doesn't make you an influencer. And that's the whole point of you being on social media, is showing people your genius and being able to share that with the world. And you probably also discovered that you don't have a leveraged platform that increases your revenue and your visibility. And you'll notice as your visibility rises that your revenue increases as well. And we're all out to monetize, right? We don't want this to just end up being a hobby, because the IRS frowns on hobbies that don't make money for a few years. So what a lot of people are wanting when they come into this is to be able to transition people from social media into closed sales and being able to really build those revenue streams that they started out to build. So here's what the social media experts tell us. If you build it, they will come. And that is absolutely not true. You need to build relationships and connect. You can't just throw it out on social media and be able to connect with people and make it happen. There's so much more to it. When I do a workshop, I actually have an exercise that we do, if you guys can visualize this, where everybody in the room takes a piece of paper and they write something that they'd like to share with the world on it, and then they make it into a paper airplane. And then we have one person go to the front of the room and everybody throws their paper airplanes at them. Now, what does this prove? The person at the front of the room is inundated with pew, 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 all these paper airplanes, and they're inundated. They don't know which one to choose. And when we actually ask them to choose, a lot of people in the exercise tell us they're overwhelmed, like they don't know what to do. And if they do pick up one, they'll tell us they don't care about that message. So that kind of gives you an example of what goes on social media, because we're so inundated with messages every single day. So here's what we do with that advice. Just build it and everybody will come. We create a business page, which is great, except for now Facebook algorithms have changed and only 4 to 7% of the people who are on your business page see your content. So Facebook is an ever-changing proposition, and it's going to be changing more with the Cambridge Analytical, the whole saga that went on with them. They're making more and more changes all the time. Then after they start their business page, they drive all the wrong traffic there. They don't worry about who their target audience is, and they invite all their friends, and your friends and family may love you, but they probably don't care much about what you sell. So now if you decide to do Facebook advertising and you use your business page as a lookalike audience, you've just completely diluted your business page and your ad targeting the wrong people. And then we turn around and we post content that isn't our own. We're busy sharing, Marie DeForleo or whoever that person is that we love. We're busy sharing their stuff instead of showing people our own genius. So we're promoting those other geniuses instead of our own. And then when we get really desperate, we start reaching out to people and introducing and trying to sell within minutes, which I'm going to show you an example of that in a few minutes as well. And then there's that other group who doesn't do all this, and they just passively hope that somebody somewhere will see them, they'll be discovered. This is not like Hollywood where you spend 20 years and all of a sudden you're, the hot guy out there and everybody says, oh, he's discovered, and he's really been out there for 20 years. If that's what you're looking for, do that. If not, don't do that. So what happens when we don't engage? And that's really what the purpose of social media is not liking and sharing, but getting solid engagement that builds relationships. And when we don't do that, we end up trying to sell before we're building relationships. We also, we find that our sales are really random. We're not quite sure why the people who are buying, and why the people who aren't buying. So it makes it really hard for us to target effectively and get that right crowd in. We don't have a strategy to build a sales and marketing funnel, and sales and marketing funnels are crucial. One of the things that happens on social media that people don't realize is your social media is not yours. Facebook, for instance, doesn't belong to you. That audience doesn't. It belongs to Mark Zuckerberg. And he can make it go away in a moment's notice with an algorithm change. So you have to be very strategic about getting people into your sales funnel and your email list so that if that happens, you still have a way to contact and stay in touch with them. And you become the best kept secret on the internet. And that's really unfortunate, because when you've spent all this time, you have a passion, you have a mission, people need your product. And if you're not going to show up and your product doesn't reach those people that they really need. And that's probably the saddest part of all, because I see so many people out there really trying to get a product and a message out, and it doesn't hit effectively. So this is what some of this looks like. This is actually from my feed, and I will tell you that this is a guy who's in an MLM, and the MLM actually approached me after a talk and asked me if I would be willing to come and talk to their people, and I had to disclose that this example was one of their people. And not only had one of their people done it to me, two of their people had done it to me. So on the left, guy reaches out, happy birthday, I don't really know him. I kind of thought, always here for you. Well, that's kind of creepy on the Facebook when I don't really know you, but okay, whatever, it's my birthday and I'm being very generous. 2 days later, he reaches out and he wants me to jump on a phone call with him, get into his private Facebook, talk about his program. So already he's in creepy selling mode. This was back in 2014. He has done that to me every year since on my birthday. Almost exactly the same message. So you can kind of see how disingenuous that is. And one of his teammates actually did the same thing to me over on LinkedIn, only she reached out and wanted coffee. And when I went to meet her for coffee, I said, wait a minute, what do you mean nutrition products for my clients? What do you think I do? She saw all my marathon running pictures on Facebook. So she thought I coached marathon runners. I would never, as a business coach, I would never tell you to go buy some nutritional products, because that's not what I do. So you can kind of see there was a huge disconnect between what those people were doing, and it really just created a lot of weird feelings about it. So I'm thinking, is he a nice guy? Is he a sales troll? After he did it year after year, his credibility completely destroyed as well. And we've all had that happen to us, and we know it's awkward, it's disingenuous. Sometimes it tails downright creepy if you've got the wrong person on there selling something that seems odd. So this is why awkward happens. When we don't set up our social media correctly, we start reaching out to anyone and everyone for attention. And we want to be very, very much in integrity when we reach out to people. We want to already know that they're our ideal client. Otherwise, they're not going to be really interested. We also focus on an audience that's too large. One of the things when people bring me books is I'll ask them, who's your audience? And they'll tell me, oh, everybody needs my book. Everybody wants to be happy. Well, believe it or not, there are some people who don't want to be happy. It serves them to be unhappy. So that's not really an accurate statement. And when you have an audience that's too large, you can't reach everybody. So your budget for advertising and marketing gets really diluted as well, because you're targeting too many of the wrong people. We also don't get feedback when we don't have real connection with people that we're trying to solve problems with. So we really have to solve those connection issues by building relationships. A lot of times we don't understand how to build relationships on social media. We go out and say, buy my product, and that's really spamming people. I've had people that have been so excited about their book that they spam me with it for a month, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear about your book again. I'm not going to buy it, and I think I might delete you soon. So there's a downside to that spamming as well. And then other people just stop because they're not reaching the right people. And a lot of times that's because we haven't really put our message together and identified that target audience either. And I have to say, even I want this. We all want easy sales without connection, but it's just not possible. I wish it were. So if you build response-driven social media, which is what we're going to talk about today, they will come because you've taken the time to build a relationship. And if they don't come to you, at least they'll be sending you referrals. And that's one of the things that we want to build those relationships with. Those people that might not be right for us today, we still want to build because they may be right for us at a later date. So that's why we want to do it this way. So when we build this kind, we have social media, we have lead magnets, we have content creation that we're putting together ourselves. Does everybody know what a lead magnet is? No? Okay, I couldn't see. Beautiful blonde lady, who is that? Okay, so let me explain. So a lead magnet is a piece, an article, or a piece of material that you give out to someone in exchange for their email address. So if you had come to this, through my normal funnel, you probably would have gotten, 10 ways to build your platform easily, or a step-by-step blueprint, or an ebook, or something like that. So you always want to have something like that to give away to get people into your funnel. So that's what a lead magnet is. Your sales become really consistent because when you have a target audience, you know exactly who you're speaking to, and they're responding because you're speaking their language. And you connect with the audience consistently, and you ask them what they need. One of the things that we do very well is our marketing assessment, which some of you took already. I know exactly where you are, but the nice thing about that is you know exactly where you are too. So you know your weaknesses, you know your strengths. I can write content that speaks to that, and I don't have to be the bad guy and tell you that you, for lack of a better word, suck at something. That's not a real relationship builder. And the best part is you don't waste money buying untargeted promo. A lot of us waste I've seen people waste thousands of dollars on untargeted promo, and they're not getting the return on their investment they need because they're not hitting the right audience. So the 3 blunders to avoid here: talking at people, posting other experts' content, and not bringing your tribe into your funnel. So talking at people, I have teenagers, well, actually they're college age. You guys probably don't have them yet, but this is what I witness in my family room every weekend. I will hear a ton of laughing. I'll walk in through the room and I'll say, "What's so funny?" And one of them will tell me that the other one who's sitting across the room just texted them a funny joke. And it's like, you guys, you're in the same room. And we do a lot of that on social media too. We just post and we're really talking at people. We're not talking to people. So what that looks like is when we're posting in a way that doesn't invite people to answer us, posting that doesn't invite engagement. Imagine if you would, for a minute, all of you are probably married. Imagine if you'd gone out with your husband on your first date and you guys sat there and you texted other people. Do you think you would have ever had a second date if that would happen? You, of course, sat there and you built rapport and you invited each other to engage in a conversation. So when you don't invite people into the conversation, you don't receive feedback. And feedback is really important on social media because as experts, which all of you guys are, we start talking at a level that we understand. And we start telling people what we think they need, but what is really helpful for us is finding out what they really need from us. That's where the gold is in this, is talking to them about doing polls, putting out the marketing assessment, and just having conversations with people, even if you have a mastermind where you invite people into a Zoom call and you chat about a topic. Getting that feedback is really important for you. And again, you don't know if you're addressing the needs of your tribe if you're not doing that. So you can build up a group, but then you need to actually talk to that group. If you're not doing this, no one is buzzing about your posts or commenting. You want to have conversations that are going on that you're jumping into, other people are jumping into, people are sharing and getting to know each other. And so you're not really starting a conversation, and that's what's so important about social media, and starting that conversation. Unconnected posting. So this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, and I did it when I first started out too. So the cartoon on the left was something I put up, I think like 2012, and I had over 700 likes and shares. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But then I realized a couple days later that as much as people liked it and shared it and laughed and commented, nobody was going to hire me because I was funny. I wasn't a comedian. I got a great sense of humor, but people wanted to know who I was and how what I did, not funny posts. The second one is a big mistake people make with the inspirational quotes. If you're going to do an inspirational quote, make sure that it's one that you made up and it says by Juliet Clark or by Justine or all of you guys, by Jen War. Make sure that it's your quote and your inspiration, because that's what's really important. Nobody's going to hire you because you post Martin Luther King all day. They want to know what you're made of. They want to know your point of view and what you're all about. And so I really avoid the memes and inspirational quotes. You can use one once in a while, but I would avoid them for the most part. So how does it feel when you're posting and it's not connected? You feel as the business owner, and I've been here, lonely, unseen, and unheard. Like, why isn't anybody paying attention? And for the person who is in the tribe, they don't feel connected either. And if they don't feel connected, they're going to go find that person who does exactly what you do that they do feel connected to. So my tip on this is post original content that invites discussion. Now, we do this, if you're inside my group, which you guys are welcome to go join, I'll give you the URL at the end. I have a group on Facebook, and we post every Tuesday. We have something called Talk It Up Tuesday, and we ask questions. How does your book impact the world? What are you doing that's working for you right now? What book have you read recently that was very inspirational to you? And you can see we have comments all day long. All you have to do is post that banner, post that question, and then jump in a couple times a day and answer, reply, cheerlead. That's all you have to do. So questions, comments, invite lead magnet posts, there are all sorts of things you can do there. You want them to be conversation starters. So you want to be talking with them, not at them. That's why you ask the questions. You're going to start to see, as you're doing this, you're going to find where your tribe needs help, because they're going to tell you. As they begin to trust you more, trust your expertise, they're going to start stepping into that and letting you know what they need help with. It also invites your tribe to feel seen and heard. How many times have you been in a group where nobody posts except the guru? I have. And it's like, why are we all here? It's almost, I want to describe this when you have your own community, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Having your own community is just like a junior high dance. You're on one side and you are the guru waiting to find out what the tribe wants. So let's say you're the boys. And then on the other side are the girls. And the girls have come to the dance with anticipation. They know all the boys are shorter than them, but they're looking forward to dancing with them anyway. And nobody starts a conversation until somebody gets out on the dance floor and does it. That's exactly what social media is like in the community. Somebody has to start the conversation, and most of the time it has to be you. And so what you're doing with these communities and all these conversations is when you're ready to launch a product, you can see who's responding on a regular basis. Those are the people that you reach out to with your first sales launches. You create an inner circle where you're creating relationships, and when you have a brand new product, you ask them, hey, do you want to try this first? I'm doing a beta launch. If you're a coach, a beta launch is where you take your new program and you offer a discount, and you bring those people who love what you do most in and give them that discount in exchange for feedback. Blunder number two. Blunder number two is not developing your own content. And content development doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming. But here's what happens when you don't create your own content. Nobody knows who you are or what you do. You're so busy sharing those other gurus that they know what they do, but they don't really know why you're sharing them or what you do. You don't get any validation or social proof for your expertise or your product. And that's what you're really looking for, is validation. People coming in and saying, I love that. How do I get involved with it? How do I find out more about it? What else do you know about this topic? And you're not standing out with original ideas. For those of you who are in an MLM, they give you, for the most part, a way to sell. And so you're out there doing the same thing as every other person who's selling the MLM is. And that's usually a product, especially if it's a brand new one. So if you can come up with your own target audience and your own area of expertise where you can build content that is congruent with the product but makes you stand out, people are going to come to you every time. And if you don't do all that, your visibility starts to crumble, and it usually only takes about 30 to 60 days for that to happen. This is one of these things that this looks like. I personally know this woman. She was a very long time ago. She wrote a book. Somebody have a question? Hold on, let's start that chat. Oh, were you guys doing private? Amy does that with moms. Awesome, cool. Okay. This is a woman that I know very well, and she's never built a funnel. Never, ever, ever. So I saw this in 2017. She had a workshop that she was selling to start your year out right. And she did this post, but when you clicked on the post, it didn't go anywhere. It was a call me, our private registration me. And people don't take the time to call you or private registration you. You always need a funnel behind that. You always need an opt-in. You always need a place to buy a ticket. That opt-in is also a sales page, which tells people more about the product so that they can see if you're right for it. So first day of the year, I saw it. I kind of said, okay, I don't have time right now. 1-6, what's stopping me from signing up? It was exactly the same point, except what's stopping you from signing up? And I thought, well, there was no place to sign up. So I didn't go any further with it. I was intrigued, but not intrigued enough to go any further and pick up a phone or go, private message her to register. On 11/11, why haven't you registered? Same graphic, but different words. Why haven't you registered? And at that point, I was like, well, I haven't registered because there's no way to register. And it was really frustrating. And at that point, I actually jumped off and went and looked over on her business page. And what I saw on her business page was that she had no original content there. So if I hadn't known her, I would not have a single reason to register because I couldn't find out what she was all about. I didn't know what she did. I mean, I did because I knew her, but if I didn't know her, I wouldn't. So I gave up at that point. 117, still intrigued. So I went over to her website this time. It took me 10 minutes to find this workshop, which it should have been right on her front page. And to add insult to injury, when I did find it, it said PM me or call me. So what's really important here is that you guys build out what she did in essence was she was selling before she had somebody to sell to. And she didn't have a proper sales process so that people who didn't know her could find out what she did. They could figure out if that workshop was right for them and have a place to buy tickets today. She made it very difficult. And guess what? She ended up canceling her workshop because nobody signed up. So that's why it's really important not to do it this way and to have all your ducks in a row. I was really annoyed. I didn't have time for it. And I'm sure you guys have tapped into things that it's that way as well. You're not going to go hunting for this. When you do this on social media, you have to make it so people don't think. It's a no-brainer. Yes, I want to do this. How do I get myself signed up? So my tip on this is post original content and valuable content so people know who you are and what you do. If someone had gone over to that woman's business page and actually seen articles and tips and other things that she's done, she actually is on a television show quite regularly. There wasn't anything over there about that. That will give people a reason to actually purchase from you because they find out who you are. And always make it shareable when you do that as well. So make sure people can easily share those articles. A bonus tip on this is to build a community. I know you guys are all part of Justine's community, but here's the deal. I told you that the business page on Facebook, people only see 4 to 7% of the content. Within a community, 100% of your community sees 100% of the content that you post. And so the real genius behind that is not inviting everybody into your community. It's using those pending questions when you build it and making sure that the people you accept into your community are your ideal client. And so you would ask questions that would trigger that they are the people that you're looking for. So what to post? This is always where people get stuck. You can do a weekly blog. For those of you who are MLMers, a lot of times your back office will have articles that you can post and that you can take snippets of and post as well. A weekly vlog. I do an interview every week. I either do an interview or, well, I do an interview, and I also have a short training that I jump on Zoom with PowerPoint, and I do a 2-minute training every Thursday on Thriving Thursday. So it doesn't have to be difficult for you guys to do. It can be really not time consuming. A weekly tip. A weekly tip is as easy as give them a tip and put an image with it so they can get a visual with it. That's all it is. And then invite them to post something about it. Build a group like we just talked about, and post invite days. So the Talk It Up Tuesday is an example of it. If you're someone who is a health and wellness coach, you might invite them to tell us what your biggest obstacle was getting out and exercising this week, or tell us what your biggest obstacle was on your eating clean. What's been your biggest thing? How effective have you been at getting sugar out of your diet? Are you there's all sorts of questions that you can ask that invite conversation into the day. A lot of times on Friday, we will follow up with a really fun post. Hey, what are you guys doing? What's going on in town this weekend? What's free in your community? What's health and beauty related in your community? So you can ask people to share where they're going and what they're doing. And by the way, when they do that, if it's in your immediate community, you might actually go pick yourself up a client there, build a relationship, and actually meet that person in person, in one-on-one in person. So all you have to do here is comment, ask questions, and share. It's that easy. And sometimes we try to make it much, much harder than it needs to be. When it works, it's great. The conversation thrives. We're building intimacy and trust. Online marketing and social media, when you're leading people to a sale, it's all about trust. You're getting killer feedback on both sides of the conversation. That's the really great thing about the marketing assessment that we use on social media is we're finding out more about you, you're finding out more about us. And if you're really committed to solving a problem, we can drive you into a strategy session and see how we can help you. And your tribe stays engaged with you and your message, and that's what's really important, is keeping them really up and working with you and helping them. The more you can help them, the more they're going to stay engaged. And building relationships and sales, they begin to thrive as you do this. This is not, I just want to caution you, this is not an overnight process. This is going to take 2, 3, 4 months to really start building and engaging, because people have to start to get to know you. So it's just like going out on that first date. If your husband had asked you to marry him on the first date, you probably would have looked for the bathroom and then the back door of the restaurant and how you could sneak out, because it was just too much too soon. So blender number 3, and this is probably the biggest, is not moving people into your sales funnel. So I don't know, you guys look a little young. How many of you remember MySpace? Oh, they're all going to admit how old they are. Thank you, ladies. That was fabulous. So I actually had a friend who had a newsletter. It was an online magazine, very glossy, beautiful, on MySpace, and got over 300,000 hits a month. And she was generating her revenue from ads, because sponsors were coming to her and saying, you have 300,000 of the people that we really want, and they were paying her. Now, what happened is she didn't make those people opt in to her email list. Do you guys all know what that is? When you opt in? Everybody, yeah? Okay. So she didn't make those people opt into the email list to get the magazines. And when Facebook came into existence and everybody left MySpace, she literally did not have a business. she lost her entire business, and she was making about $30,000 a month on sponsorships. So imagine completely losing your business. Now, what she did wrong here was not understanding back in the early days of social media that the audience you have is not your audience. It's important that you get them into your list and make them your audience, because all it takes is an algorithm change and you've lost everything. Facebook has done this several times. I have people who lost thousands of people on their business page back when the business page started as the place to be and you had visibility. They lost them all the way along the way, and it was really tragic. Because what happens is your revenue streams dry up because you don't know how to contact those people again. And you don't have prospects to launch your books, your programs, your anything that you have, you can effectively launch through your email list. When we send books to number one on the bestseller list, we do that primarily through an email list, because we have to get those people in the list. And then we have to know where they purchase, because there's a formula to get people to a bestseller list. So we have to have those people actually in our list to be able to do that. So the other thing about that is when they're in your list, you can look at your open rate, who's opening, who's not. And I talked about that inner circle launch earlier. Those are the people that you put in that inner circle launch as well. So when you don't transition, the conversation dies because those people disappear. You're not establishing intimacy and trust, because you're basically starting all over again if you lose your people. And you don't know what feedback, you don't know what's going on, because you don't have that visibility anymore. And when they go away, they usually don't come back. They go to the next step. So make sure that you have make sure you have all this in place so that people know what the next step is, so they don't defect. And the relationship building stops. And for you, that is really frustrating. No one's listening. We have really awkward strategy sessions because these people don't know who we are. Our sales are lower when we don't have a funnel, the closings, and we don't have triggered offers at appropriate levels. So I talked a little bit about the Smart Biz quiz, which is what a couple of you took before you got here. You probably found by the time you were done with that you knew who I was and what I did. If you had a really high commitment level, you got an email that offered you a strategy session. So that was an opportunity to build a relationship. That raises my sales closing because we have that opportunity. And also when I talk about triggered at appropriate levels, if you have higher cost programs, a lot of times a sales coach will tell you that every conversation you go in and you sell them your biggest program. And if you're really a coach out there with a lot of integrity, you don't do that. You look at exactly where their skill level is and you sell them into the program that is appropriate for their skill level, because it's about building that relationship and them having trust, not about you just making a lot of bank and not doing your job. So that's where all of that really, really helps, if having that sales funnel intact. And your income streams stop when it happens as well. So this is what I call the worst transition tool ever. A lot of people have newsletters. You can go to your website and opt into a newsletter. And usually this is a platform where when people opt in, first of all, we don't do it consistently, which really hurts our audience. And secondly, it's a combination of tips and selling in the same letter. And we don't ever want to be overtly selling to them in an email. We want to be able to do that in other ways. So my tip on that is always use a next step that leads to a conversation. So what does that look like on social media? On social media, that might be putting together the Smart Biz quiz and having them take a marketing assessment. Or the next step might be opt into my webinar, or opt into a mastermind group, or opt in. You always want to give them something to opt into, so you're collecting the email and being able to give them further good stuff inside your funnel. So language and tools. This is something I've talked about a couple times now, and you've probably seen them all over Facebook, is take the quiz. And those quizzes are actually really good tools to find out a lot of information about your consumer. And I highly recommend this on Facebook. This is what I teach the majority of my people how to do, is being able to use this to identify where your market is at and who you're really talking to. We use the Smart Biz Quiz a lot because it has that autoresponder in the background that can give those commitment appropriate offers. So using Smart Biz tools is really, really important. This is another one that I use. You want all of this to be automated, because if you have to sit in front of your computer all day and do this manually, it's really going to be a hassle, and it's going to suck up a lot of time that you could use coaching and really being in your area of genius. And so this is one just like you guys took, only it's about platform building instead of social media. It's engaging, it's connected, and it's automated, which is what you want. How this serves everybody. Followers know exactly what the next steps are. You've taken them from social media to a quiz. They've taken the quiz. Now they know that their next step is a strategy session or an application for a strategy session or something free or the community, or you're always leading them someplace. But people always know what that appropriate next step is. People understand who you are and what you stand for, and there's more opportunities for conversation. What we're really doing here with all this, with the next steps, is we're building what are called micro commitments. And online, micro commitments are those little baby steps where you're giving people choices, but they're no-brainer choices. So in the context of your funnel, you're actually watching people take baby steps towards you, which helps you know who you can sell right away and who's kind of out there still being a looky-loo, because I'm sure all of us have spent our time trying to convince a looky-loo that they need our product. And at the same time, we've overlooked somebody who actually does need it today. So it helps us really get a real strong sense of who our people are today and who we're still just feeding information to and not trying to convince. Anytime you have to convince someone to buy your product, you've lost. People need to know that they need your product. So how does this help? Sales conversations become super easy because you're talking to the right people all the time. You're collecting those email addresses, which is pivotal to your business, not only because you know who's in your funnel, but because if you ever go to sell your business, those are dollars. If you can sell your email list with a business, an established clientele, that's good news for the person who buys it. The best thing I like about this is it shifts it from, look at me, I'm a guru, I'm going to teach you stuff, I'm going to sell you stuff, to let's take a real good look about who you are and what you're doing and how you're doing this. And that is really easy for you to sell from, because then they know they need you. You don't have to convince them that they need you because they've already taken this quiz and they know it. And you get feedback from where people need the most help. The more you can create content that connects because they've told you it connects, the easier it is for you to be able to convert and close sales. And it shifts the whole conversation. How many of you guys, this is where I see this a lot, the real estate world. How many people have real estate agents that in your neighborhood telling you how great they are? Yeah? I'm great, I'm wonderful, I've been in business for 50 years, I sell 27 houses a year, I'm awesome. I don't care how awesome you are, I care what you're going to do for me. How you care and relate to me. So that's what this quiz does, is it immediately signals that I'm more concerned about you than I am making a sale today. When all this comes together, you have a strategic marketing plan, you have visibility in the marketplace, and you have the ability to upsell and downsell effectively. That upsell and downsell, I can't even tell you how many times I have gotten lifelong clients from that. They'll come into a webinar and they'll tell me, I want to buy your bigger program. And when I really talk to them, I'll say, you know what, I'd love to sell you that, but where you really belong is back here, starting with the foundational tools. And that person, I've had several people have come back later and they're like, I'm ready for the second program and I'm so glad you did that. That's why I keep spending money on things I don't need, because other people won't tell me. They just want to sell me. So that gives you a lot of integrity when you can come from that place. And the sales conversations, they thrive and they continue, which is what you want them to do all the way to the sale. So your number one job is standing out and being the authority in a crowded marketplace. And all of this will help you do that. Any questions? You're all so silent.
So I would love it if you could maybe take one of these ladies, you know, as an example, and maybe take them through like how they could sort of set up the process that you've just walked us through, you know, like what that would look like for one of them.
Okay. Who wants to go?
Okay. So
Go.
Okay.
If that's okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's your name?
Sure.
Oh no, now I can't hear you.
Cherie, it looks like
Okay.
Cherie, it looks
I
like
know, I was double
you're on the
teaming
phone.
here. Should I?
Here, let me put my headset on real quick.
Yeah, you may.
What, Justine?
If you're on the phone and the computer, Cherie, you may need to mute your.
How about that? Is that okay?
Is that okay?
Now you're echoing. Uh-oh.
Is that okay? Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, great. Well, there's so much. I don't profess to even have a handle on it. I receive all the stuff you just talked through. I completely get. So it's so fun to hear your teaching on it, which is great. You know, being on the receiving end, of course, of so many people. But specifically, as it relates to this project that I have, which really, I don't know what the question would be, but yeah, Waldorf 100, which is a social movement reaching out to the general public. So it's what's the question? There is a constituency within the private Waldorf schools that is my core group of people that, so I'm beginning, there's so much potential, you know what I mean? Like I have to capture my market.
Mm-hmm.
And then I provide the message. And the goal that I want out of it is really participation. It's not necessarily money driven. Of course, the money part, the exchange would be promoting Waldorf education in the cities that they exist.
Okay.
But it's really a social movement. So it's kind of big. Basically, I probably need to just hire you to help us figure this out, which would be great. As I was thinking, this is like, wow, how ironic, how perfect. The timing is so perfect. But
so if I were you, I would start with building that Facebook community. And do you have one already?
No, I do not.
Okay, so I would build that Facebook community and bring people in. What is the Waldorf? What does that do? What is the purpose of that?
Waldorf 100. It's basically a social renewal campaign around being like unity through diversity and stewardship of the earth. So it's inspiring groups of people to make an impact and to engage in these activities. And there's several programs that will be aligned with it.
So is it a local effort, a national effort?
It's global, and I'm lifting up the Mexico, Canada, and the U.S.
Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. So I would start a group and bring in people from all those areas. You might have to do a little bit of Facebook advertising to hit the right people. You do want to limit it to those areas. So you might have to do some targeted Facebook advertising to get people in. But I would start the group, have the pending questions around the initiative so that you know you're getting right people in. So what would your ideal consumer look like?
At this stage, at the beginning of this campaign, it would look like a thought leader or a community leader that is an influencer that would endorse, if you will, this initiative. So my ideal constituent looks like somebody that's familiar at this stage, somebody that's familiar with Waldorf education and the values that they stand for, and that buys into what this campaign is, which is an outward gesture to the masses of kind of an inspiration to steward the earth and educate. There's a focus on at-risk youth and sharing like our best practices.
Okay. So those are the people that I would invite into the group as you meet them. So one of the things we do in our program is when we're setting up that community, we actually teach you, like if you're at a speaking event, how you bring those people in, how when you network, you bring those people in, because we want to gather them in the community. A lot of times when we go out to an event, we exchange business cards and then we might call that person, but the conversation dies. So one of the things I will share with you, I roomed with one of my clients at an event a while back, and we got home like at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, get your computer out. And she's like, what? I'm tired. I made her take every single see me card and friend every single person right then and there that she just met. And then once they were friended, once they accepted her friend request, we crafted a little blurb that said, so great to meet you at, blah, 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 blah. And you know what? We had a great conversation. I'd love to invite you over to this group on Facebook. We leave the link. We let them choose. If they choose, they're your people. If they don't, that's okay too. They're not your people.
Okay, great.
So, and then go through and ask, you have 3 pending questions when you start a private community, and it must be private, because if you don't make it private, people will spam in there.
Okay.
So set up 3 questions that you want to know about your ideal consumer. This is where you'll start seeing patterns in people, what they need, what they want. The other part of that is we do what's called a pinned post inside of the community. That's where the marketing assessment comes in, because you invite everybody who comes into the community to take that marketing assessment. And that's where we start building relationships. They get to know about you. You get to know about them. Now you know what kind of content to develop for them. And that's where the appropriate, skill appropriate, commitment appropriate offers come in. If someone is kind of on the fence, yeah, I joined, but I'm not really that interested, we don't want to give them a half hour, an hour of your time. We want to save that to those people who are very committed to what's going on there. So that helps streamline your time as an entrepreneur, because I'll tell you, if you just give people unlimited time, they'll suck up your time all day. So you want to know that you're giving it to the right people. Mm-hmm. So it all flows like that in a funnel. In order to get the results of that quiz, that marketing assessment, they have to give you an email address. So now they're inside your funnel waiting for next steps. A lot of times when I put mine together, about 85% will give me phone numbers. And that's really helpful too, because when I do have a big event, I can have my staff call and personally invite people. You don't want to overuse that function, but when you have an opportunity, you want to use it sparingly and make it very intimate and personal. I'm calling you because not a sales call, a relationship building call. So, and then whatever you decide content-wise to give that group, that's what you're doing, is starting conversations within the group. Then you have this group of people who are all passionate about the same initiative. So there's going to be a lot of energy in there. They're waiting for you to tell them what are the next steps, and they're very engaged.
Do you think that, so you were saying Facebook, we know it'll be evolving and changing, but still Facebook over Instagram is still the platform? Or well, I don't even, for you. I was thinking both,
Both, it may be for you both. It may be. And we may see a little bit, the problem with Instagram is you can't really create the communities. A lot of times we have clients who are more on LinkedIn and Instagram, and a lot of times the invite is for them to come into the Facebook group. Because you have to, and Instagram has a little bit different audience, and so does LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn, people jump on once or twice a month. They're not everyday people. Facebook is kind of like I jump on every day. Most people jump on at least once or twice a day. Some of them keep it open in the background all day. So that's why it's just a little bit more social. So I wouldn't discard using Instagram, just use it in a little bit different way.
Okay, so we are, it's 2:02 here, Pacific time. So I want to honor your time, Juliet, and everybody's time here. So was that helpful, Cherie?
Oh, so much. Thanks so much. Thank you, Juliet.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's awesome. That I love that you just shared that with her, and I could really see that being a powerful community building tool, and also for fundraising.
Ultimate, I would love to see if we could collaborate and work together. If I could bring you in on my team when we're ready, which we're ready.
Okay, we can set up something to talk. You know what? The way you're doing it's very powerful. One of my clients, Rich Gurman, has over 1 million followers on Facebook. And he has an ocean initiative that is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he's local, Sherry. He's in, I think, Laguna Beach. So
yeah, he is in Laguna Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, awesome. So Juliet, thank you so much for this. I think it was really helpful the way you painted the picture, and in helping us really look at what not to do. And then, looking at engagement, how do you engage? And then really, what I took away is having the funnel in place, having the actionable next steps, like you're guiding them and leading them into a next step that feels like a natural progression for what they need based on an engaged conversation that you've had with them, right? And
Yes.
So it feels more authentic. It feels like you're really serving them because you know what they need, right? And you know what you can offer them. And so it's a much easier sell. With your product and service. So I really, it's such a great approach, and I appreciate you, taking the time to put this together for us, spending with us, and then also giving personal feedback for us. So
great. Well, thank you, ladies. And you can go over and friend me. If you go over and friend me on Facebook, Juliet Dillon Clark. I have a platform building community over there as well. I think it's facebook.com/groups/platform builders.
okay.
You guys can connect with me. Yeah, you can connect with me over there. And great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you haven't taken her assessment yet, go ahead and take her assessment. And I put the link in the comment section here. So jump on that. And thank you, everybody, for showing up today. And I'll be seeing you all soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.